Zagon, one of the most important pilgrimages in Hungarian literature, is located in the southeastern corner of the Felső-Háromszék Basin, in front of the Berecki Mountains. Because of Mikes Kelemen, considered to be an innovator of Hungarian prose, this village is one of the best-known places in secular land, with thousands of visitors annually. This is the place where Mikes Kelemen, who grew up with Rákóczi Ferenc II, was born and spent his childhood. He also followed Rákóczi into exile in Radosto. But the pictures of the native village never faded from his mind over the decades he spent there, as proved in his letters from Turkey. Zagon is a municipality which encompasses Popolt. It lies 30 kilometers from Székely-Szentgyörgy, the chief town of the county, surrounded by mountains. At the entrance to the village, a monumental secular gate welcomes visitors. The main watershed of the Carpathian Mountains begins here. The region has been inhabited since ancient days, but the first written document refers to the name of Zagon at a later date. In the 1567 registry, it appeared with 51 gates, which means 250 to 300 persons. Today, the municipality has more than 5,000 inhabitants, with half of the Hungarian and half of Romanian nationality. The people of this area always made their living by taking advantage of wood, trading with tools made of wood, especially timber, board, and shingles, which they sold in Brașov. Today, the main activity of the inhabitants is agriculture. Some of them own hosts of units or deal with production. The names of the localities, such as Tatarszeg, Tatar Nail, Kisvés, Nagyvés, both names contain the word danger, tell us a lot about the history of Zagon. They preserve the memory of the Tatar and Turkish invasions and the battles fought against them. In the year 1602, 74 soldiers were registered, among them 50 free secular men and 3 noble families. The 17th century was a hard one on Zagon. In these times, seculars were fighting under the Hungarian or Austrian flag. The secular landholder from Zagon, Mikes Paul, was the leader of the fight against Habsburg absolutism and also a loyal supporter of Tokaj Imre. This was the reason why the emperor's soldiers brutally executed him, and he never met his son. His land was taken away and given to the St. Kerest family loyal to the emperor. The mansion is known today by the name Mikes St. Kerest Castle and is the home of the Cultural Center and Museum. The marvelous Baroque building was restored between 1995 and 97. During the restoration, an old girder was discovered which dates to 1632 and on which the initials of Mikes Baltasar and his wife can be found. The mansion is the oldest and most beautiful building in the village, with its steep double-shingled roof and curved windows. One of the rooms in the mansion preserves the memory of Mikes Kelemen. Different objects and documents, reminders of his wandering life, can be found here. An important influence on the development of Mikes Kelemen's life and on his way of thinking was his father's involvement in the Hungarian insurrection movement. From the age of 12, he studied at the Jesuit College of Kolozsvár, and then he turned 17 and joined the court of Rákóczi Ferenc II, where the prince appointed him to the Noble Youth Society, which had 100 members. At first, Mikes was a page, then a guest apprentice, and eventually he was appointed the prince's chamberlain. After the downfall of the Hungarian freedom fighters, he emigrated with the prince, first to Poland, then France, and then Turkey. In Radosto, the possibility of returning home became more and more unlikely, and eventually faded completely when Rákóczi died in 1735. Mikes passed away 26 years later, in 1761 in Radosto, due to the contagious disease of the century, the plague. He took a popular vision of the people and the language with himself in his exile. He wrote about his experience in the form of letters, which was very fashionable at that time in France. His art of writing was greatly influenced by the works of foreign writers. The foundation for it, however, remained from his homeland. The secular common language and its idioms, and the linguistic humor were all characteristic to his writing. The fictive letters were addressed to his imaginary aunt, a Transylvanian noblewoman living in Constantinople. These are frank confessions written in witty conversational style which give a clear picture of the lives of those living in exile, of Mikesh ideology, his homesickness, his love for his native country, and all by evoking Transylvania, therefore Zagon, as an idyllic fairyland. The 207 letters are an eternal memory of his faithful soul, which in addition to providing valuable information on the last chapter of Rákóczi's life, turned Mikesh Kelemen into an eminent writer. In the Mikesh Cultural Center, 2 other rooms were furnished in the memory of Kishmányi and Chutak Vilmos. The Kossuth and Yosoy award-winning actress Kishmányi spent her childhood in Zagon. The artist spent the first 17 years of her life in the village, as her father was choir master here. Even later, she visited regularly. She made Zagon one of her stops during summer vacations. Mányi Kish piano can also be admired in the memorial room, along with the photographs. The actress is considered one of the most important comedians in the history of Hungarian film.
Jaj, Gyula, te alig eszel valamit. Majd én helyrehozlak, ne félj. Nem leszel nekem mindig olyan keszeg, akit az első szél elfúj. Most meg mit mosolyogsz rajtam? Mi?
Náncsi néni úgy beszél, mint a nagymama.
Nagymama. Tudja is tudod, mi a jó.
Már miért ne tudná?
Megbízhatsz benne, mint apádban, vagy István bátyádban. De a főztitől óvakodj. István bátyád jön.
Honnan tudja Náncsi néni?
100 közül is megismerem a kocsinkat, majd megtanulod te is. Minden kocsinak más a zörgése, más a hangja, mint az embernek.
Chutak Vilmos, historiographer born in Zagon, is a well-known director of the National Secular Museum and the Székely Mikó High School. He was the one to publish the National Secular Museum Memorial Book, which appeared on the occasion of the 50th anniversary and is a cultural, ethnographic, and scientific essay collection. The illustrious historian lived between 1874 and 1936. At the same time, the mansion is the seat of the Mikesh Kelemen Cultural Foundation. Its main activities are organizing events, parties, conferences, and summer camps. In the courtyard, one can see a bust of Mikesh made by Bokshoy Vince in the 1997. Mónusz Béla's representation of Mikesh oak, dedicated to the memory of the Rodos ermit, can also be found here. The work of art represents the sad Mikesh in traditional secular costume, and an old face can be seen, evoking his imaginary aunt. Their legs are merged into the secular land. In the old but restored building in the court, the so-called gabonás in the Grain, comfortable rooms await visitors. In the conference room, 120 may organize for meetings or events. In Mikesh native village, the memory of him is kept alive by several memorial locations. In the Mikesh garden, the ruins of the house where he was born were marked with a memorial in the 19th century. The old memorial was changed for a new one by the superintendents of Háromszék in 1957. In the neighborhood, one can see the oaks of Mikesh. These 300-year-old trees were marked with several carved headboards. According to local tradition, these trees had seen Mikesh as a child playing next to them. The majority of Zagon's population is Reform or Orthodox, but there are also Roman Catholics. The Reformed Church was built between 1783 and 1795 and preserves elements of the late Baroque period. The communion table, which is carved of stone, dates to 1856. The church is considered to be a historic monument and is surrounded by a stone wall. Oral tradition holds a very interesting story regarding the clock in the bell tower. According to this story, at weekly fairs, the village mayor announced that the people of Zagon wanted to order a clock for the tower, and since it would also serve the merchants, he requested they contribute as well. The answer for his request was that if Zagon wants a clock, then it should buy one. And that is exactly what the very irritated mayor did, but nobody could ever figure it out, as he had the clock hands replaced, and it has been like that ever since, on the facade of the tower. The nearby rectory is home to a library dating to the 16th and 17th century, which was donated in 1862 by the widow Cicer Mihaine Foina Maria. The wife of the late Reformed dean from Orba has almost 800 volumes of books. The tin decanter given by the father Mikesh Kelemen, Mikesh Pal, in 1685 is also held here. The Roman Catholic Church is considered to be a tourist attraction and was built in 1822 to honor Kishboldogausun. Inside, one can find a memorial plaque dedicated to the altarpiece painter, Saint Keresti Stefania. The organ was made between 1885 and is the 170th masterpiece of the renowned organ maker Polonit István from Kézdivásárhely. Situated near the church is the crypt of the family of the Saint Keresti Baron, with its precious epitaphs and surrounded by the tombstones of family members. The church of the Romanian-speaking population of Zagon was built in 1814 to praise archangels Gabriel and Michael. The shingled church is a historic monument now. On the other side of the road, a new church has been erected. The Elizabeth Square is one of the village's other points of interest. In 1898, the year when both the Austrian Empress and the Hungarian Queen passed away, lime trees were planted in remembrance, which, with their splendid crowns, still stand today. The village has had an operational educational institution for centuries. The well-organized school was founded by villagers through their own resources. Orban Balázs took note in his book, called Description of Secular Land, that there are few such expediently organized schools in our homeland, where everything that one needs to know about life in a village is taught within 6 years. Written records hold notes about the teacher since 1790, and in 1860 it was appointed the model school of the region. Today, the village has had as many as 3 schools. The elementary school adopted the name of Mikesh Kelemen in 2000.
A román anyanyelvűek egynégyosztályos iskolája Jud Covasna nevét viseli, az óvoda pedig Jon Creanga nevét vette fel.
The children are being educated under modern circumstances in renovated buildings. The cultural education leads the way, living up to the reputation of the village. Dance groups, brass bands, and the long-standing choir are a standard to the quality of cultural life, and beyond this have great importance integrating local youth and strengthening the community. The young brass band attends many events and is very popular. It is the pride of the village. There are several successful dance groups, both Hungarian and Romanian, trying to preserve tradition. The Gyunjvirag Children and Youth Dance Group was formed in 2004 and has cheered up the locals several times since. The Romanian folk dance group named Bradulețul always surprises the spectators with its professionalism. Choir, named Dalarda, has the longest tradition in the public education field. It celebrated its 125th anniversary in 2006. It was among the first choirs of Transylvania, and what is more, it was the very first one in Háromszék. In 1851, its name was Ének, the Song Club. 30 years later, it was given another name, Dalkör. The Vegyeskar has great performance on occasion of celebration, concerts, and national contest. Zagon is famous for its kindergarten, too. The villagers founded it with the help of St. Kereszti Stefania, Baroness. The institution operates in a renovated, usefully equipped building and bears the name Szabókati. The locals express their admiration for the worldwide known gymnast coming from Zagon, who is a multiple Olympic champion. In the house of her parents, one can take a look at the medals and cups she has won. The gymnast impressed the world in 1984. She got 4 gold medals and 1 silver at the Olympic Games held in Los Angeles. Today she lives in France with her family and is a successful coach. Zagon always had an active sports life. Its football team is considered one of the best in the category. The Mikes team has won the County Cup 3 years. The youth team is very talented as well, and they want to be winners. The town's image is that of rustic buildings, the atmosphere intensified by the secular gates decorated with dovecots and verandas. In the center of the village, beautifully arranged parks were created. Across the road, we can find the village hall renovated and extended. The building dates to 1900. The mayor's office began renovation in 2006. During construction, a new wing was constructed, and thus it is much larger and has more offices. Each room is fitted with new equipment. As a special decoration to the building, a new wedding office was added. The opening ceremony held on the 7th of February 2007 in the presence of numerous county representatives, mayors, guests, and friends. Following the ceremonial speech, blessing, and cutting of the ribbon, the event ended in cordial hospitality. In the summer of 2009, 3 inaugurations took place. A wooden headboard was erected in memory of writer Domokos Geza, who, although not born here, considered Zagon to be his hometown and is buried here. At the same ceremony, a granite bust of the statue Prince Rákóczi Ferenc II was unveiled, which was a present from the Hungarian twin city of Zagon, Kisküre. The new sports hall was also inaugurated at that time. Zagon is a locality making fast and good progress. Its municipality implements important investments every year. Schools and public buildings have been renovated. After 2002, a 22-kilometer-long high road was constructed, and water pipes of the community have been rebuilt. The village will probably have a swimming pool too. A great number of materially strong entrepreneurs live in this prosperous locality. Most of them deal with trade and the catering industry. Delicious and fresh pastries are baked on the spot. Due to the vast forests, lumber is one of the most important sectors. The village has several sawmills. The forest owners keep an open mind towards hunting tourism as well. The local hunting conditions and game are quite favorable for this purpose. According to the season, tourists have the opportunity to make use of blinds and driven hunting experiences. Hunting opportunities are usually sold to foreigners, and most of them come back for years. The romantic landscape allows you to see animals from hides, which is a great experience. On this occasion, even more herds of swine come in for the corn. The up-to-date and furnished hunting houses provide comfortable recreation. Five kilometers from Zagon lies Popolts. It's a village in the Havashaya region, in the valley of the Popolts stream, and was once mother village of Komando. The history of the village got lost into the dusk of the Middle Ages, though it's first mentioned in qualified references of 1567, when 19 gates were listed by the clerks of János Sigismund. Since ancient times, the population has been engaged in agriculture and livestock, as well as conversing with timber and woodworking industries. Once, the beams and bars and planks were cut with water saws, from which wagons, barrels, tanks, shingles, and various tools were made. The forests of Popolts ensured plenty of raw material, and there was no shortage of skilled craftsmen. At the beginning of the 20th century, this place was considered to be a paradise of timber and wooden plank making. The settlement is connected to Komando by a forest industry road that crosses through the wonderful scenery of the main watershed of the Eastern Carpathians. The industrial railway was built in 1905 and passed through the ridge once, also through Popolts, though today we can only see the remains of the railway tracks. Popolts is a lively, dynamic, and quickly developing settlement. The natural resources of the region are well utilized, with the given possibilities. The vast grasslands provide favorable conditions for animal husbandry, especially cattle. There are entrepreneurs in Popolts that see opportunity for growth in different sectors, so beside hospitality, they engage in construction. The majority of Popolts' Hungarian population is Reformant. The village had a church as early as the 17th century. The church was rebuilt several times since, gaining its present form between 1894 and 96. The tower was erected between 1774 and 1785. The beautiful neo-Gothic building is under reconstruction. The gallery built around interior walls is unique in the region. In the church, one can see the memorial plaque of Kish Shandor, cavalryman, and of Barabash Samu was a renowned historian and medieval dowser born in the village. He first saw the light of day here in Poppolz in 1855, and his home, the house he was born in, still stands. He was appointed a corresponding member of the Hungarian Academy of Science in 1910 to his scientific work. After his retirement in 1915, he moved back to his native village with the intention to devote his remaining work and all the knowledge he gathered throughout his life in the service of secular historiography. The result of his life work, lived as a hermit, was the 8th volume of the Secular Collection of Archives published in 1934, which was also the closing key to his valuable lifelong works. A significant part of the village population is of the Orthodox faith. They had a small wooden church as early as the 18th century, which was renovated several times, and in 1924 given for the grace of Saint Piroshka. Local people believe bad weather and storms cannot cause any damage to the village as long as the church bell of St. Piroshka has been rung. The small bell of the church, encrypted with Cyrillic symbols, was made in 1852 at the foundry of Szepsi St. György. We can enter its inner courtyard through an old secular gate. On the lintel, there's a Hungarian inscription which is difficult to read. The church has been rebuilt in the 1980s using the original woodwork and furniture items. The second Orthodox church of the village is newer. The Oriental Greek building with its 3 towers can be found along the main road in the upper part of the village, and it can host as many as 100 people. The 3-tower building was erected at the beginning of the 1930s and has a Neo-Byzantine style. The village can take pride in all the valuable and interesting historical monuments and public places which can be found at each step. At the town entrance, a huge secular gate stands guard, symbolizing the guests are always welcome. The public secular gate inauguration is an old tradition in the Háromszék region, and this one was erected in 2004 by the local mayor's office. Poppolz is likely to have had religious schools in the 16th century. The building where the school is today was built in 1909. The Monument of Heroes can be found in the small area between the school and the parish house, and was erected by the village in 2002. One of the most important protagonists of cultural life is the folk dance group Lilium. The dance group, though only a few years old, has participated in several events and even received invitations to perform abroad. The village, situated in a valley protected from the wind surrounded by many forests, can be considered a starting point towards the Haramsek Mountains. The scenery along the Popold stream is breathtaking to any visitor. The attractions of Zagon community hold valuable intellectual resource. The captivating surroundings provide recreation at all times. The friendly inhabitants of the village welcome guests with hospitality. Anyone who has been here will fall in love with the place and will not forget Zagon easily.